Steve Walls, alongside Darren Smith here from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. Surprising game for us. The Chiefs fall to the Indianapolis Colts, 17-20 or 20-17, however you want to look at it. Darren, does this surprise you at all?
Oh, very much. I mean, if you just remember 3.5 hours earlier from our pregame show, this was not the outcome that we expected. At least when I woke up this morning, we both thought the Chiefs would win by 2 touchdowns. Obviously, the start of the game for Kansas City, when they were going to get the ball on offense, did not bode well. Sky Moore muffing the punt, and essentially the Colts recovering down within 5 yards of the end zone. Of course, they scored. They're up 7-0. Chiefs still kind of had some issues on the kickoff and stuff like that. And it's a situation that, as Patrick said in the post game, never should have came down to it never should have came down the way it came down. So,
and you talked about the muff punt early in the game. I feel like the mistakes early by special teams. Yeah. One huge mistake by Scott Moore, muffed the punt, then led 3 plays later. It was recovered by the Colts, and they went 3 plays and scored a touchdown. And that was kind of, to me, the play of the game, because the entire game seemed pretty weird. The way that it was played, some of the decision making on the Chiefs' behalf. The Colts, remember, they were coming in here winless. What did you see from the Indianapolis Colts from the offensive side of the ball?
Well, kind of what we talked about again in the pregame show. This was their home opener. This was not the Colts team that we saw the first 2 weeks of the season.
Oh yeah.
So they were a lot more hype, a lot more amp. And again, you can't give them opportunities to feed off the energy, and that's what the muff punt did. When they got it, because again, I think they were essentially 3 and out, and they punt the ball out. Chiefs, had he returned it, we just know how things may or may not have turned out differently. But with that muff punt, puts them in a score position. They scored. Now they got the lead. They're feeding off the energy from the crowd, and now And what's interesting is that the Chiefs were able to bounce back. Obviously, a big turnover on Matt Ryan with the sack and the forced fumble. But then, the kicker misses the extra point. So that again gives them life, because now they've got the lead. And so it was a game of ebb and flows that, again, at the end of the day, never should have came down the way it did. And the Chiefs started off wrong, and it essentially went downhill from there. Even though they had the lead for the majority of the game until the last 2 minutes of the ball game, and I mean, got their first loss of the season, which they probably shouldn't have had.
Now, we talked about it at halftime, going into halftime, just how much of some differences in how the Chiefs are playing today compared to how they played the first couple of weeks. Even going at the end of the half, where Patrick Mahomes and Eric Bieniemy looked to have some back and forth. According to Patrick, it wasn't much. It was just Patrick wanted to run the ball. Eric Bieniemy wanted to run the ball. Patrick wanted to throw it. What did you think about what Patrick said post game?
Well, politically speaking, we all said in the press box that they're going to clean it up by the time it gets there. So what they may have really said, we were trying to figure out what the lips were, what they were saying, and what they said, because Andy kind of addressed it as well, saying, But that being the case, I mean, they're going to put on a arm on his face, because that was not the reason why they lost this game. At the end of the day, and people, social media, they're you need to, why, look, they're fine. They're competitors. As the enemy is called Mahomes, a competitive prick. I mean, and again, as Patrick said, it was one play. Coach Bieniemy just wanted to get the half over with, get into the locker, because they got the ball back to start the second half. And of course, Patrick says that he wants to try to score every time. But the flip side of that is, of course, you come out the second half, you go for it on the first 4th down, and then you get down to 4th and 2 on the goal line. And instead of going for it, you kick a field goal. So, consistency is all I would ask of Patrick when it comes to that. But that being the case, again, it's just an unfortunate myriad of events that took place during the 3 hours that, led to the Chiefs' loss today.
One positive, the Chiefs' defense. No Willie Gay.
Positives, yeah.
No Willie Gay. Darius Harris stepping up big.
Nick Bolton got his first sack.
Nick Bolton, Carlos Dunlap played well. For the most part, I mean, the whole defense played well. What did you see from those guys?
Again, speed and physicality. I mean, we talked about that. I asked Dunlap after the game, how many points. Look, I thought that they played all these many well. I'm thinking that they're playing lights out defense because they're getting after the ball. I mean, it's funny. I think even the Super Bowl year, I don't think Spags has had a defense that's been this explosive, being able to get to players quickly and make the plays. I mean, Nick Bolton stopping Jonathan Taylor on 4th and inches.
Yeah.
I mean, he just met him right there and stopped. I mean, that's the type of stuff that Chiefs fans have been hoping to see that type of defense again. If what I'm hoping is that doesn't come to what happened last year, where teams start off slow 3 and 4, then the defense, was picking them up and helping them win those ball games. It shouldn't be this way with this particular defense, because the way that they're playing, the offense now needs to catch up to what the defense is doing.
And we talked about, even coming into today, of course, they had a tough game last Thursday night against the Chargers. And then they had this game with a winless Colts team. And then following next week, you'll have a Tampa Bay. I mean, did you think that this team fell into that whole trap game mentality?
I don't know. I don't know, because, again, we talked about it in the pregame show. Again, coming into the game where the team is winless and you're coming in undefeated, are they looking ahead to Tampa? Yeah. I don't think they did. Well, it's hard for me to say that they did, because I know Andy, to his credit, will always take the blame about having the team prepared. I think they came prepared. I just just a myriad of unfortunate events that took place. I mean, Sky Moore muffled the punt, because initially I thought it might have been because of the sunlight or something, but he was in the shade when it happened. So it's just one of those things where it was a crazy thing the way the ball was bouncing today.
Yeah, domino effects for sure.
Yeah.
Looking forward to looking ahead to next week. I mean, do you feel like this could be like that domino effect to where things kind of spiral out of control?
No, obviously, we don't know. I'm trying to look ahead and see what the score is with Tampa Bay. I think they're trailing 7-3. So I would say it depends on how this Tampa game unfolds with Green Bay, because how are they going to be able to, if they were to fall, how are they going to be able to bounce back, and what takeaway they're going to have from the game, and then also no matter how they lose, if they were to lose the game. Again, the Chiefs know that they lost the game that they had no business losing, that they should have won. And as Patrick said, the offense just has to get clicking and has to be playing better. Again, I don't know if it's, granted, other teams get paid to play as well.
Of course, any given
Sunday. But the Chiefs, I think offensively, according to Patrick, know what they should be doing. As he talked about, passing, he should be hitting when it comes to McCole, when it comes to MBS, and some of the shortstops, because there were, obviously he missed a couple of shots of Kelsey in the end zone. I mean, that's the catch on this side of the field on the end zone that Kelsey normally catches. That's money, and so he catches that. The Chiefs are up by 2 scores, and maybe we're not having this discussion.
And to that point, Patrick said he missed MBS on a couple of throws. I mean, that started in preseason. We saw him overthrow, and I think what people don't understand and how tough it is, a lot of those throws that he threw to Tyreek Hill, he just threw the ball up. Like the whole meme, Tyreek's down there somewhere, that was because Patrick just throws the ball and Tyreek is able to use his speed to go track the ball down and get it. So now he has to actually be accurate and put some trajectory on it and make it be on a precise point.
And to that point, yes, McCole, MVS, they actually do run 4.3, but that 4.3 ain't 4.2 cheetah speed.
Of course,
and that's the big, because not only can he explode, but he can separate as well, and that's another thing that the players are able to do. Now, can't say we talked about a pregame. We did see some life from Juju Smith-Schuster. He did make some big plays. He had the big run where he leapt over. Again, it's just unfortunate how the Chiefs wasn't able to pay those long drives off. Now, I guess to me the biggest concern was Andy Reid in the postgame when we asked him about the kicking situation, whether or not he had trust or faith in the kicker.
Long pause.
He took a long pause and didn't really give an answer that if you're Matt Amendola, that you feel like you're going to be traveling to Tampa next week. So that's a situation where they have to shore that up. Obviously, I asked Andy whether or not they thought about using Justin Reed or anything, because people have been asking why not use Justin. But I'm like, well, because he hadn't really been prepared for it this week. He hadn't kicked or whatever. So, yeah, this is one of those things where Chiefs are going to cheat. They've got to get that addressed. Maybe Butler comes back next week.
Yeah. So, and I think too. I think that when you look at it, you have to figure out a way to make sure that you've got a kicker in there that's able to do what he needs to do.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, like, you trusted him enough last week where I believe he hit two field goals, and then this week, I mean, you do a fake where it was about 42 yards or whatever, and then you go for it the next time around. He makes that, but then misses an extra point and then misses another field goal. So, yeah, you can't. The expectations when you're when you're on the Chiefs team and with Chiefs Kingdom is now is Super Bowl or bust. So they expect you literally to win every game, and to an extent, this is a game that Chiefs should have won.
Yeah.
So,
and not only that, I mean, this is a game they should have won. However, even the mistakes that they made, they have to be able to bounce back from those.
They're correctable mistakes.
The early, I mean, the muff punt, we talked about that. Then you talked about Andy Reid wanting to go for it on 1 4th down, and then gets another 4th down that's even closer, and he decides to kick a field goal. It didn't. And even his response to your question, it didn't add up for me, because he said, we were closer. I didn't want to kick it from that far back. Now it was 5 yards. So, and the other thing, the fake field goal, where it was 4th and 11, you decide to take the ball out of your MVP quarterback's hands to put it into your punter's hands to go with your third string tight end
to pass
it to your third string tight end. I didn't understand that as well. So Andy owned up to it. According to Carlos Dunlap, he said that Andy came in to the locker room and said it was on him, plus some other things that he wouldn't share. So, I think they're going to take a hard look at this one. And I believe wholeheartedly that Andy is the type of coach that won't go home. He'll stay up. He'll have some sleepless nights after this game.
Yeah, and of course, the players talk about how they come in and watch the film on Tuesday, and then they'll have to, because you got to start preparing for Tampa Bay. But but if you're Andy Reid, I mean, look, and to be honest, if you're a player, this loss should eat at you.
Yeah.
mean, and you can. It's easy to say, well, you dissect it and move on from Tuesday, but it shouldn't, because when you look at it, I mean, this is not as tough as this division is. This is a division where you could be separating yourself from from the rest of the teams in the division, and
so later on in the season it won't matter. I got you.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, and this is something that it can come back to bite you, especially again. You're facing Tom Brady. We know, you're 1-1 in that stadium in the regular season, and of course in the Super Bowl, where you suffered a loss there 2 years ago. And so, this could be Brady's last year. He could be trying to go out with a bang. It's going to be pomp and circumstance, and of course you got a hurricane supposed to be coming through. So there's a lot of factors that's going to be at play. And so if it's inclement weather and you're not really clicking right now offensively, that's not really the type of scenario that you want to go into next week.
And the good thing about that game, the defense is playing well. We talked about it. The defense is playing very well.
Traveling,
so I mean, that's a positive. Now, one thing we didn't mention is the fact that I didn't see Buffalo lost today.
Yeah, they lost.
So a team that has been predicted to go to the AFC Championship game to play the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean,
win the Super Bowl,
that's a positive on a tough day like that.
It's funny you said it, because I'm thinking about the Cleveland Browns last week when they lost to the Jets, but I'm like, well, everybody else lost too that weekend. The Baltimore Ravens lost, and I don't know if the Ravens end up holding on to that victory today against. They went in and won at 37-26 over the Patriots. So just. Myriad of things.
And the other thing that people aren't talking about
yet.
The
Packers are winning 14-3, by the way.
The other thing that people aren't talking about yet is the fact that Miami won. So Miami is undefeated, and the addition of Tyreek Hill, folks are going to say, Tyreek Hill is the reason that Miami is doing well.
So people can say Tyreek, but I think you got to be careful.
Yeah,
got to be careful, because you can use that same scenario with Mahomes and this Chiefs team. So, but again, when it comes to Miami, I tell people Tua had that speed in Alabama, and he led them to a national championship second half of that ball game with Jalen Hurts. So he knows how to utilize those weapons because he had in Alabama.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, folks, we're going to have a lot more of this Chiefs talk tomorrow night. We're going to be live from Soiree Steak and Oyster House. That's 18th Divine Jazz District. Come down for the Red Hour. We will have some special guests. We will have Chiefs Parking Lot J, the fan group that we're going to be coming down to hang out with us. Myself, Darren Smith, Uncle Sean Tyler, also DJ Q. We'll be down there. Come down for some great food and Chiefs conversation. Until next week, we are out of here.